to our Facebook Live audience. Welcome to the Gamma Pi chapter of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated Health Initiatives webinar. My name is Brother Arden Garnett, and I will be your host. Excuse me. One housekeeping rule is that all participants will have the ability to type in the chat any questions you may have, and we will do our very best to answer them in the allotted time. Our topic this morning is a good one: sickle cell disease, how to save lives with blood donation. We are very excited to have Miss Beth Carrion as our presenter. Miss Beth Carrion is a strategic business planning manager for the American Red Cross in the Greater National Capital and Potomac region. She is also the region's Red Cross Club liaison between biomedical services and their high school and collegiate programs. Beth has worked in the medical field for almost 28 years, with most of her career working in blood banking with a deep knowledge of both whole blood and cellular therapy products. She has worked throughout the United States and alongside the DoD in Europe. She served as a firefighter, paramedic, and is a certified CPR first aid, and is a basic life support instructor. Ms. Carrion holds a BS in Emergency Medical Services from Broward College in Davie, Florida, and a certificate in firefighting from Augusta Technical Institute in Augusta, Georgia. Her areas of interest are working with patients who suffer from blood cancer and disease, specifically sickle cell anemia, aplastic anemia, leukemia, and lymphoma. Beth's goal is to help increase the diversity of the nation's blood supply so that all patients can have an equal outcome. It is critical that potential donors understand that their race matters for patients receiving specific blood products, and hopes to gain support from blood donors through educational and development engagements with community partners. Through strategic planning, you can support the American Red Cross's mission to save more lives and help deliver the right blood products to patients in the United States. Ms. Carrion, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Good morning. Thank you, Arden. Can you hear me all right?
Sure can.
Okay, good morning. Thank you for that kind introduction. That really meant a lot. The work that we do at the American Red Cross is just so instrumental around the world, especially in today's, and everything that's going on today. And just the importance of how your little piece of the puzzle can fit into someone's life is just extraordinary. And we can't thank you enough for hosting a blood drive at your convention on Friday, May 1st. So the American Red Cross will be out there collecting blood donations, also Power Red donations, which I'll get into in just a minute, and for our sickle cell warriors. So I'm super excited to be here. I am going to share a quick presentation. If you guys want to, feel free to put some questions in the chat or anything that you would like to ask. I will take those questions shortly. Okay, there we are. Okay, so our blood saves lives. That says it all right there. When we're talking about diverse donors, the odds of being a match for a patient who are Black are very low compared to those who are white. And then anywhere in between with mixed race donors, when a patient has a blood cancer disease, it's very crucial that we're able to supply them with the blood product that they need prior to any bone marrow stem cell transplant. So obviously our mission at the American Red Cross is we prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of donors as yourselves. So I'm not sure if everyone is aware that every 2 seconds someone in America needs blood. Every 2 seconds, that's 1 in 7 people entering the hospital. 4.5 million Americans will need blood this year, and only about 10% of the eligible population donates blood, yet 95% of us will need it one day. So when you look at the need for blood here, mothers giving birth, premature babies, accident and trauma patients, open heart surgeries, and you can read the list, but sickle cell disease and many other types of blood cancer and diseases. A lot of people don't realize that part of a cancer patient or someone with a blood disease, part of their treatment is receiving several units of blood. So, sickle cell disease is the most common genetic blood disease in the United States. About 100,000 people, largely African American or those of Black descent, um, represent this population. And that's only those that we know of. 100,000 actually seems kind of low for some of the families that I have met that didn't even know there was treatment options out there for them. So sickle cell. So as you know, our red cells actually are around like a donut. So they flow properly within our body. The oxygen carries those vital red cells to all of our vital organs in our body. But when you have sickle cell disease, they can become sickle shaped, therefore naming it sickle cell disease, and it can cause extreme pain, acute anemia, tissue and organ damage, and strokes. So unfortunately, if they go in with the sickle cell patient goes into the hospital with a pain crisis, unfortunately, any of these things can cause any one of these uh, damages. And eventually, unfortunately, if they don't have the right type of blood products and or treatment, they could die. And that is just the reality. So making sure we have the right blood products in place when they arrive to the ER is what's very important. Many of these patients can receive up to 10 transfusions a month, which equals almost 100 units a year, which is why the American Red Cross is out there trying to increase our footprint in our communities. And I'm sorry, guys, we were trying to see if we could play a video, and I'm not sure if we can. So
Yeah, we're gonna see if and we appreciate the audience being patient with us as as we deal with a little bit of technology, but we will not be long. We have folks we have tech support in the background trying to show these really important videos, and if we cannot get them up, we will just um, give it a minute. Now, Beth, while our tech support is working on, I just wanted to throw a question out there.
sure.
Um, and one of the things where you mentioned about why African Americans are more likely to be why are we more likely to be affected by sickle cell, and why do we need more people of color to donate?
Well,
Yeah.
and this is going to sound funny. I have been in this line of work for about 10 years now, and I actually didn't even realize how far back the history goes. But Black people, due to an evolutionary adaptation against malaria, so
Mm,
historically, carrying one sickle cell gene provided protection against dying from severe malaria.
mm,
So it's basically being immune to a malaria because of the sickle cell trait. So over time, the trait became prevalent in African populations, therefore having 1 in 365 babies that are born with sickle cell disease. So it's sort of not a good or bad thing that you're immune to malaria, but the sickle cell disease part is what came out of it. So
mm.
in the regions with high malaria rates, people with one sickle cell trait had a higher survival rate than those without it. So just looking at that and the malaria resistance. So that's quite interesting. But with sickle cell disease, like I mentioned, 1 in 365 babies are born with sickle cell disease since this all came about. And it was actually the sub-Saharan in Africa. So African populations. So therefore, if you are, your heritage or your lineage comes from, wherever, And this could include Hispanic people, white people. It just depends on your heritage. So it's quite interesting if you were to do some of the reading on how it all came around. So,
Wow.
yeah,
No,
you're
thank you for
welcome.
that. I'm sure that's a
I wanted to make sure I had that right too, because I have not quite memorized everything just yet, but that genetic mutation, it's just quite interesting on
wow.
how that works.
All
Which is
righty.
why we need a cure for this disease.
Absolutely. Um, let me see. What
I can go ahead if you guys.
That blood donations help save lives.
there we go.
For people with sickle cell disease, blood donations can play a critical role in their treatment for their whole life. Sickle cell disease affects approximately 100,000 people in the U.S., most of whom are African American. It occurs when red blood cells are hardened and sickle-shaped rather than soft and brown. Red blood cells then clump together and stop blood flow, which can cause sudden and lifelong effects like debilitating pain, organ and tissue damage, and even strokes, preventing children and adults with sickle cell disease from participating in everyday activities. Fortunately, blood transfusions can provide an essential treatment. Transfusions replace damaged red blood cells with healthy ones, preventing sickled cells from blocking blood vessels and improving oxygen delivery throughout the body. So, patients can feel energized to return to daily activities. Patients with sickle cell disease may require frequent blood transfusions with closely matched red blood cell antigens. Due to the variety of inherited red blood cell antigens, the most compatible blood donations often comes from donors of the same race or similar ethnicity. That's why increasing the number of donors who are Black is critical to ensuring patients receive the treatment they need. By donating blood, you can help fight sickle cell disease. To learn how, visit redcrossblood.org/ourblood today.
Thank you so much, guys, for figuring that out. I just think that very quick video kind of gives you an overview about sickle cell disease and why the need is so important for more minorities to donate. So the importance of a diverse blood supply, we kind of covered this in the question that was just asked. But obviously someone receives blood transfusions that closely match that blood type. And just looking at the 1 in 3 African Americans that are an actual match for a patient, a lot of folks don't know that they could actually be that life-saving donor. Then your blood can actually be used for sickle cell warriors when they enter the ER in a pain crisis. So 1 in 3, those aren't bad odds. And we do tell you if you do match that criteria. So obviously, as you can see here, like I mentioned, compatible blood match from the donor of someone who's the similar, and that's in any ethnic background for any type of blood cancer disease. The patient's outcome is just better if we can match someone who's, of that same race, especially prior to a bone marrow stem cell transplant. So this is the antigens that we actually look at when we dive into your blood. So blood types, as you may know, are inherited. So, and they're determined by many antigens. And what I like to say for people who are a little nervous about what is an antigen and all this, I just say the ingredients in your blood matter. So as you can see, there's over 600 known antigens, but that are very unique to specific ethnic and racial groups. My husband happens to be Panamanian Jamaican and I'm Irish. So when you look at our kids, I just call them mixed matched. So it can be even harder to find matches for patients of mixed race ethnic backgrounds. So well-matched blood can decrease the risk of complications, like I mentioned earlier, and just their outcome. They can receive, lifelong transfusions. But if we can decrease the amount of trips to the hospital and those patients receiving the proper blood that they need, their treatment options will be better. So it's critical to increase the number of available blood donors. So as you can see down here, African American ancestry. So if you look at the CEK negative is what it's called. And you will be notified if you have that CE negative trait. But when you look at the European American ancestry, like such as myself, you see those percentages are off. So we don't necessarily, even though I can donate my blood based on my blood type, we do not want the patient to build an immunity to my blood type. Then all of a sudden get the right blood type from, from the right match for that patient, and then their body gets confused, if you will. So we want to make sure that that CEK antigen negative combination is there for that patient. So this is our other video that I would love to show you if we can get this one to work. This one it always tears me up.
And I think we should be able to
Okay.
support his mention that they can do that. Just
bear with us, guys.
Bear with us. We will get this rolling for sure. Okay, here we go.
I have sickle cell disease. Sometimes I can't do the activities that I love to do, and it puts obstacles in front of me, but I don't let that define who I am.
Some days she wake up with her feet hurting or her back hurting. She's not able to play softball. She's not able to play soccer because if she gets hit, it can put her into a crisis.
It's hard to live like this because I see normal kids and sometimes I can't go to school and I just want to be like them.
It's very hurtful to watch your child suffer so badly and you can't even help.
When I get a blood transfusion, it makes me feel 100% better. I am back to my normal self.
You can actually watch her life come back to her. Her color comes back, her strength come back, her ability to be able to walk, feed herself, it all comes back after just that one blood transfusion. I remember the time when Maya had to go in the hospital and the blood was not there, and it was the scariest, most frantic moment in our lives.
I was very sick, but I was mostly worried that the blood wouldn't come in time.
I just tell her, I need you to fight because we're going to find it. And they came in finally and said, Mom, we found it. And I cried. I had to go in the restroom and cry.
That blood means a lot to me. Without the American Red Cross donors, I wouldn't be here right now.
I am so grateful for those people that roll up a sleeve, those blood donors that take the time out of their busy schedule to donate blood to the American Red Cross to give my child or any child that's receiving blood another chance at life to be able to grow up.
So just thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing that video. For, it just, reiterates the power that people have with their specific blood types, and that could be anyone. Believe it or not, even, when you look at mixed race donors, people like myself, if I had an African, heritage, my antigens could possibly match up with an African American or Black sickle cell patient. So that's why we take everyone. There's no questions asked, but all blood types are needed. So I did want to touch very quickly on our Power Red donation. So there'll be two types of donations a day of your blood drive. One is whole blood donation, which takes about 4 to 8 minutes. And then our Power Red donation, which is about 3 cycles of 8 to 9 minutes. But it is still a one-arm procedure. And fun fact, it is a smaller needle. So, and we are in desperate need always of our Power Reds because that's just a concentrated packed red cells for us to give to trauma patients, mothers, and that are having trouble during childbirth, our sickle cell, any of the anemia patients. So this is a very important type of donation. Again, it just takes a little bit longer of your time. And if you're already going to be there, we do empower you to sign up for Power Reds. And I'll be reaching out to your leadership on some more information about that. So if you're interested, just let us know. So important dates to remember. I always love to, we started in Baltimore a few years ago with our sickle cell awareness kickoff. It was very important to me when I joined the American Red Cross to make sure that we hosted an event, and we made it an event. Our first year and second year last year grew, and this year it's growing even more, that not only are we going to be in Baltimore, but we'll also be at Woodstream Church in Bowie. So we're, and I'm hoping to have your guys' participation as well. So this was just going to be an event that will be, Urban One Radio will be participating as one of our sponsors. And so there'll be a ton of great activities surrounding this as well. And your fraternity is more than welcome to come and have a table. Obviously, June 19th is World Sickle Cell Day, as well as Juneteenth. So, but every day is what matters most to these patients, and just making sure that we're collecting more and more diverse blood. So this screen is important. Again, I want to thank Gamma Pi chapter of Omega Psi Fraternity. I'm sorry, I get tongue-tied. Hosting us on Friday, May 1st from 9 to 2. You can scan this QR code right now to make your appointment today, or for more information, I know that there is a flyer. Your leadership is sending around flyers and different ways that you can sign up to donate blood. I did want to let you guys know that all blood donors will receive a $20 Amazon e-gift card. That's what the American Red Cross is giving out. But you'll also receive a bonus $20 Amazon e-gift card, because this is a sickle cell initiative blood drive. So that's $40 in Amazon gift cards with a valid email on file. We've provided more than 350,000 sickle cell trait screenings. So I did want you all to know that anyone who identifies as Black or African American or multiracial will receive that testing with a good blood donation. And so these are just some graphics that we are going to make sure that you guys get, that you can share on social media, and make sure that your family and friends and neighbors are aware that we are having a blood drive. So in summary, I just wanted to explain the education component is key. I used to get so upset because I wanted to just get to everyone and just make sure that they understood the importance of why sickle cell, disease is not overlooked, but not enough people don't know about it. And you don't know what you don't know, and why your blood is so important. So our mission is to grow the number of blood donors who are Black or African American, to help patients with sickle cell disease, to help improve those health outcomes. The health, obviously to help address the health disparity, you can read the slide here, by increasing the diversity, which we've discussed already. So you have their life in your hands. You can come out and sign up. And if you're unsure that if you can donate, the easiest thing to do is call 1-800-RED-CROSS and see if you're eligible. The FDA regulates the questions we ask, and every week there's a change. I'm an active duty military spouse that could not donate before, but I can now. So just call if you're unsure. That's the easiest, best way for you to find out if you can actually donate blood. So with your organization, we're going to build on this momentum and build trust in our communities, and just share the right information. I'm a very fact-based information person, and if you please do not watch the TV shows, the Grey's Anatomy and all, the TV shows and the movies that we watch sometimes give just such a bad name and understanding to what we do. So please make sure you ask questions and get your facts correct. Lastly, this is my contact information, as well as our emerging markets account manager, Luke Anderson. So please feel free to reach out to either of us, and I am open for questions.
Well, Beth, thank you so much. We appreciate the presentation. Beth, the other day we had a pre-call, and I just want to ask this question. There's another question as well that came in the chat. We're definitely going to get to that. And what are some of the most common misconceptions or barriers for people to donate blood?
Well, a lot of that is the misconceptions would probably be, I've had cancer, so I just assume I can't donate blood. I'm diabetic. I assume I can't donate blood, which is why it was so important that I said don't assume, because some cancer patients that are now in remission 5 years, 3 years, 5 years, it depends. Obviously, everybody's cancer journey was different. You can't go off of base yourself on what someone else. So that's why calling that 1-800-RED-CROSS or going onto our website, redcross.org, and getting some information, that will answer your questions. So You said misconception, and what was the other one?
Or misconceptions or barriers to blood donation. Yeah.
I guess, well, that kind of answers a little bit of both, but barriers would be like if you're taking that cruise, I guess, and like I always tell people, my husband is from Panama, so I know that that is a 3-month deferral because of malaria, for example. So if I were to get, bit by a mosquito and get malaria, so I know I can't donate blood for at least 3 months in order to be tested to make sure I don't have malaria. And we give my blood to a patient. So there's several things, medications, tattoos, piercings, like all those questions 1-800-Red Cross can answer.
Okay. So one of the questions from the chat, thank you so much. Is sickle cell considered a disability for people in order for them to be eligible for disability benefits? Do you have any insights on that?
So I'm not a doctor, but I can tell you based on some of our sickle cell warriors, some of them whether they have received a stem cell transplant, bone marrow transplant, or are in current treatments, like anything, there can sometimes be, side effects, and they could have hip surgeries or shoulder surgeries, depending on how, within their body where it was mostly affected. Even though they may be cured, the only known cure right now is a stem cell or bone marrow transplant. But even then, folks don't like to say necessarily a cure because you can still have those adverse reactions and side effects and things. But right now, they're making great strides in medicine and clinical trials for our sickle cell warriors. One of mine from Bowie State University was on CBS Nightly News a few years ago about the trials that are. So everybody is different though too. So yes, you can, but it again depends on the patient and where they are in their sickle cell journey, because there are many forms of sickle cell disease as well. So I do know, one of my very dear friends, David Dandridge, he is on disability because of the effects of maybe the radiation, or because believe it or not, they can receive chemo or radiation prior to a stem cell or bone marrow transplant as well. So again, it just depends on the patient.
Okay. Next question is, how has the drop in blood donations after COVID made existing gaps in funding and care more noticeable with people living with sickle cell?
Ooh, that was a mouthful.
If I need to repeat part, I'll read again. How has the drop in blood donations after COVID made existing gaps in funding and care more noticeable for people living with sickle cell disease?
So I want to say, well, thank God during COVID times, funding wasn't being pulled like it is now. So we were still able to, carry out our mission. I happened to be with the National Marrow Donor Program during that time, so working directly with patients who needed a bone marrow stem cell transplant. But our friends at the American Red Cross, again, prior to me coming on board, did an amazing job. We had to pivot, obviously, because that didn't stop. COVID started and we all said, well, how are we still going to get blood? How are we still going to swab cheeks to get, folks added to the stem cell registry? How are people going to get life-saving organs? What are we doing? So we just came up with a plan, and a lot of our partnering hotels opened their doors, and we were still able to collect the blood that was needed. Now it did take a minute for us to get, acclimated to that new way of life, but people were coming out in droves. So it didn't really affect too much. I do see, what's kind of sad is when people see stuff like this, they want to come help. Like after 9/11, everybody, that's the first time in history that I had ever seen everybody wanted to help, but we need help every day. So, and because blood is perishable, we have to have that blood on the shelves today. That's why you cannot rush out and just go straight to the hospital if your, cousin or, whoever gets in a car accident, God forbid, or someone needs a blood transfusion. We cannot do that, unfortunately. It's not like the TV shows, like I mentioned. So we've done a really good job of making sure the public is aware when we do have critical shortages. We try not to cry wolf, but it's kind of hard to do when you have a less than 2 or 3 day blood supply on the shelves nationally.
Okay. Thank you for that. So There are a lot of questions about foreign travel when trying to donate. You touched on this a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Why does that matter?
Because of the different, we don't know certain shots of vaccinations that people have had. It depends on where. When my husband is still active duty military, when he had to travel to Africa, for example, he had to get, some boosters, some things. So depending on where you're going and the reason. So again, are you going on that cruise or are you going on a humanitarian aid effort? Because we have several Red Cross volunteers, obviously in Ukraine, over in Germany, trying to help behind the scenes of what's going on right now. So it depends on the shots and vaccinations that they receive, but also, is that a high malaria area? Is it the mad cow disease affected many of our blood donations, which is why the military living overseas, that's since been lifted. So again, with the 1-800 Red Cross, to answer those questions, some people are just out for a few months, like myself. I donate my blood, go to Panama. I know I have to wait 3 months and I'm good to go again. So that 1-800 Red Cross will be your best friend for those questions.
Awesome. And besides sickle cell, what are the most common situations for needing a blood transfusion?
Well, for example, during our critical times, it's unfortunate, but summer and winter months are probably our most critical times in the nation. So we're canceling regular scheduled surgeries, cancer treatments. If the blood is not readily available to our sickle cell patients, our NICU, because we need the blood for trauma patients. So if there's a shortage, and we're also doing what's called resource sharing with other hospitals. So American Red Cross is the world's largest supplier. So when you think of our local community blood centers and any of our other blood centers located anywhere in the nation, we are their backup for when they need blood. So we're doing what's called, we're trying to rob Peter to pay Paul until we're able to get enough blood. So if you have a less than 1 day blood supply, that's considered critical. And that's what we'll bring to, the news and kind of share that. To be considered a normal blood supply or within limits is up to a 5 day blood supply, guys. So again, because blood is perishable, we have to keep an eye on that. But 5 days, that's like more of an now we know. Now we're working on, again, the diverse donor, community.
Sure. What would you say based on that? What is the current status of blood shortages? Is there a blood shortage? And I think, I would say what is the cause, but and is there a cause for that? You may have touched on some of those things already, Beth, but just want to know where are we now with blood supply?
No, that's a great question. So right now we are doing well, but we're ready to fall into the summer season. And one of the biggest impacts for us is our high schools and our colleges. So the reason we're so short on blood sometimes is because when our universities and our high schools shut down, everyone wants to get out of class. So when we're running our high schools, all the kids want to help out. We have 110 amazing Red Cross clubs in the National Capital Region. So that includes collegiate and high schools. So we're just very, very proud of all the work and efforts. But when they're not in this summer and the fall, spring, that's when you look at the winter and summer as the most critical times. Plus, a lot of people are on vacation. So we get a lot of groups that say, oh, I can't run a blood drive because, vacations. And I'm like, but the whole entire office went on vacation. So we try to get those churches and those, get what we get. Getting, my husband's like, how did you do today? Even if you got one, that's 3 more lives saved. That's how we try to look at that. But yes, obviously the whole office won't be on vacation. So we can, maybe lower the goal. But that's the biggest reason. Our hospitals are in demand. We've never shut down. We run operations 365 days a year. So we have to ensure those blood products are readily available. So you'll be getting calls from us in those summer and winter months. And we try to come up with creative ideas through our Red Cross clubs, and we have scholarship programs. So we do, but that is the biggest reasons. More accidents occur. People are on vacation. It's a recipe for disaster.
Wow. Here's a really good question that came in too. What Has the Red Cross ever done blood donations in juvenile residential facilities or juvenile detention centers?
So unfortunately, because there is, the FDA does ask very specific questions about, not to get into too much detail but we do ask, within a certain time frame, if you are locked up, there's a greater risk of, of the donor catching something from someone else, let's say, because if there's fighting and you blood to blood contact, and the risk is just greater. So the FDA, we do not, now I have seen it where if a match comes up for a patient for a stem cell match, that's a different ball game where you have to, go through a judge and because they are that specific match for a patient,
Right.
or for organs and things. But for
Okay.
blood itself, no, we do not collect blood, unfortunately.
Got it. Okay. I don't see any more questions in the chat. I know you had put up in your presentation, yes, the Brothers of Gamma Pi will be hosting a blood drive in a few months during our second district conference at the Gaylord. For those of us who live in the DMV, they know exactly where that is. I'm sure we may have other folks who don't live in the area, but you can go to our Facebook page and gather more information about that, or contact any of the brothers from the Gamma Pi chapter. But I think I'm trying to see if there's anyone else we do have a little bit more time. And if we are done, we can give back folks another 15 or 20 minutes.
I did want to, I'm sorry. I did want to mention, for those of you who have never donated blood, and it's funny because I was talking to Arden and Quentin about this the other day. I said, can you guess what the number one reason folks don't donate blood? Of course, we usually get, I'm afraid of needles.
Mm-hmm.
But believe it or not, it's because I wasn't asked. So I wasn't asked to donate blood. And believe it or not, I have to believe in the power of the good spirit of people. It's not that they don't want to donate blood. It's a convenience thing. So if you know about it in advance and we are coming to your job, or have a high school that your son or daughter attends, that we maybe don't run a blood drive there. If you can't donate blood for whatever reason, any of those reasons that you call that number and find out you're actually not eligible, then that's your way of giving back. We never want you to feel as though, well, I can't donate blood now, I can't be of help. No, you can actually get folks, if everybody, and I'm not sure how many folks are watching, but I do know that the conference, there's going to be several hundred people there. If everybody were to just get one sign up, or even half the people were to get one sign up, we would, make our goal, which by the way is 50 good units of blood. So what that means is we have to get at least 70 people on schedule right now, because let's say you're sick that day, or whatever your blood pressure is too high, by the way, and if you do get deferred for whatever reason, but you did come in for your appointment and you did try, you still get the $40 in gift cards. Not that that's why you're coming, but we just want to make sure that just for coming and trying, we still thank you for your efforts. So you can give back. We have several mission-related activities that we do. We have our services to the armed forces. We have our disaster services, humanitarian efforts obviously going on in the world right now. Blood is just one of the easiest ways to you volunteer your time right now, and or being present at the blood drive, and or getting folks to sign up. So, just remember that you can be a part in saving someone's life, because it takes a village. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you so much, Beth. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up in our conversation. I think when you and Quentin were talking, we were all like, the needles or something else. And when you said ask, so I know on behalf of Beth and for myself and the brothers of the Gamma Pi chapter of Omega Psi Phi, we're asking each of you to please donate, whether it's going to be at our event in a few months, or at a local blood drive. we're asking right now to please donate. As you see from Beth's great presentation, how very important it is to donate blood. From the young lady we saw there, that we can really impact someone's life, and in many cases save a life. And so that's why it's so important, to donate blood. And I guess, Beth, with that, first of all, let me, number one, thank you again. You are absolutely wonderful. We appreciate your passion and your commitment in your space, but also want to thank our Facebook Live audience. Want to thank our tech support.
Yes.
Brother Dreer in the background, who you all don't see, but who definitely helped us get those videos out to be presented this morning. So with that, it looks like we'll be able to give back a few extra minutes. And once again, for myself and also, again, the brothers of the Gamma Pi chapter of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, we want to thank you for tuning in, and be on the lookout for other health initiatives, webinars that will be coming up. We usually try to do these at least once a month, so be on the lookout on our Facebook page for other topics to come here for the remainder of the year. So with that, thank you so much. We wish everyone a great weekend. Have a great Easter season, and have a wonderful weekend, everyone.
Thanks again, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you at the blood drive.